A federal high court in Ado-Ekiti has granted a 50 million naira bail to human rights lawyer and activist Dele Farotimi over alleged 12-count cybercrime charge against him by the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun. Farotimi was arraigned last week before a magistrate court in Ado-Ekiti over the petition written against him by Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Afe Babalola, over an alleged defamation in his book titled Nigeria and its Criminal Judicial System. The Inspector General of Police, however, filed a fresh suit against Farotimi before the Federal High Court over a 12-count charge bordering on cybercrime. Presiding Judge Justice Babs Kwewume disagreed with the prosecutor, Samson Osubo, who argued against the bail application. Justice Kwewume, in his ruling, granted the defendant a 50 million naira bail in like sum with a Shorty resident in Ekiti. The court also ordered that the defendant must submit his international passport to the court and adjourned the case till January 29, 2025 for commencement of hearing.
Charge was read to him. 12-count charge bordering majorly on providing online information that can cause breakdown of law and order. He pleaded not guilty to the 12-count charge, upon which S.O. Oshobu Esquire, counsel for the prosecution, applied for him to be remanded again at the Ado-Ekiti Correctional Center. Of course, that bail application was posed by the lead counsel, that Professor Festus Emery, leading Rafun Woke and my humble self as the lead counsel of the defense team. On that basis, the court admitted to bail one Shorty in like sum, 50 million naira bail in like sum, and then, of course, the Shorty must have a property in Ekiti State, and then he must also have a title deed, which he or she will furnish the court.
It should be recalled that Chief Afe Babalola is Senior Advocate of Nigeria and founder of the Afe Babalola University in Ado-Ekiti, Abuad, had petitioned the police in the state, alleging that Mr. Farotimi defamed him in his book, Nigeria and its Criminal Justice System. We are now being joined by Babatunde Kwame Ogala, a Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Good morning, BK Ogala, SAN, for joining us on the program.
Good morning, Dr. Ruben.
Good morning.
Good morning,
good to
Ruben.
See you. Well, there's been so much...
Good to be on your show again.
Yeah, there's been so much concern about this case of defamation between Mr. Dele Farotimi, or between Chief Afe Babalola and Mr. Dele Farotimi, and the state intervening. Now, so much confusion. If you could just help us untie some of the knots about jurisdiction, about whether it's a criminal offense or a civil wrong, and whether Ekiti State is the best place to file the matter, and all of this back and forth, and whether, in fact, being an activist gives you express powers as an individual under Section 39 to write whatever you like about anybody in society, and whether Chief Afe Babalola has the right to even raise a query. I'm sure you know all the
Thank you very much, Dr. Ruben. Yes, well, in discussing the issue, I would want to be conscious of the fact that the matter is sub judice, so there are areas I would rather not delve into, especially the issues that have been put before the courts. But having said that, I will start from your starting point on the subject of jurisdiction. A lot has been said about jurisdiction. Some have even argued, albeit perhaps not having knowledge of the law, that because the alleged defamatory comments were made in a book published in Lagos, Lagos ought to be the place where the court should have jurisdiction. But that is not so. When a publication is made, it is published to the whole world, not just to Lagos. More so in these days of internet, where everything is thrown up in the internet, like in this book, which I understand is even available on Amazon, and a lot of people are reading it even on their mobile phones all over the world. So it's a matter of where the person who is allegedly defamed resides or elects, or where the publication is brought to his attention that can come, that has jurisdiction. So jurisdiction is limitless. It is not confined to just the place where that book was published. If you write something defamatory about me in America and I get to read it in Lagos, I can't exercise my rights in Lagos, Nigeria. So in this case, that book having been widely published and widely read, and the complainant in this case, the nominal complainant, Chief Afe Babalola, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, is resident in Ekiti, and that is where he had become aware of this alleged defamatory comment. What then was his choice? That is his domicile. So he lodged a complaint. Again, that takes me to the issue of whether it's criminal or civil. Under the Criminal Code Act, it is a criminal act. There's criminal defamation. And then there's a civil defamation, which also can run pari passu. In the criminal defamation, Chief Babalola, or indeed any person who lays a complaint, is at best a complainant. He has laid a complaint about criminal defamation, and which body is empowered to deal with criminal issues? It is the police and indeed other law enforcement agencies who can investigate and elect to prosecute or not prosecute. If they find merit, they proceed to prosecute. They could also prosecute directly or through the Ministry of Justice. In this case, the police, being so empowered, have elected to go on direct prosecution, both under the Cybercrime Act and under the Criminal Code Act, because the matter before the Court of the High Court is charged under the Cybercrime Act, while that in the Magistrate Court is charged under the Criminal Code. So they are two distinct. The police have now elected to exercise their powers to prosecute, haven't been satisfied that they find a case for prosecution, they find a case for prosecution pursuant to the petition of the nominal complainant, in this instance, Chief Afe Babalola.
All right.
While that does also not stop Chief Babalola, if he so elects, to also embark on civil prosecution for libel, if he so wishes. And then the rest is for the courts to determine. Now the matters have been submitted for judicial interpretation and judicial intervention. It is best for us to just let the courts decide one way or the other.
All right. Thank you very much, sir, for breaking it. Yes.
I can continue.
Oh, okay. Let me come in and then you can possibly add to your response to the question. Thank you for breaking it down for us. I think it's really important. But there's also, and I'm glad you mentioned the police, because there are questions raised about the manner in which the police handled the arrest, and in some cases has been described as the abduction of Mr. Farotimi from Lagos to Ekiti State, and then presenting him to a magistrate in Ekiti, and the conversation around jurisdiction even in that regard, that the magistrate proceeded to remand him in custody following the hearing yesterday, where they've now granted him a bail of 50 million naira and others. But can you please throw more light on the jurisdiction of that? Did they have jurisdiction, especially now that it's come to light that defamation is not a criminal, is not termed as criminal in Ekiti State?
I think that is just what I've just addressed now. The Criminal Code Act, it's a federal law which is applicable across the country. And the magistrate courts, I mean, I don't know where the misconception comes from that a magistrate court does not have jurisdiction to try certain classes of offenses because they are federal offenses. That is a total misconception of the law. Nothing deprives a magistrate as long as it is within its permissible limits, albeit either the kind of sentence it can impose or the fines or penalties or that it can impose within its limits. What is the punishment for this criminal libel, criminal defamation, as it were? 2 years imprisonment or thereabouts. Is it within the powers of the magistrate to impose that? Absolutely yes. So I don't know where that misconception is coming from, that you cannot take it to a magistrate. It's a total misconception. And of course, we can understand sometimes a lot of persons argue things without knowledge. We can understand that Nigerians, everybody is a lawyer and a judge, adjudicator. So it is incorrect to say the magistrate does not have jurisdiction. And that offense is charged or was charged under the Criminal Code Act, a federal law applicable in southern Nigeria. In southern Nigeria, in some states, yes, they have made their, like in Lagos, for instance, they have made their own criminal laws, which, may have eliminated, and perhaps in Ekiti. But that also does not repeal the federal law. Until it is repealed, it remains the law.
No,
so that is on one side.
Mr. Ogala, good to see you again. Rufai here. This is Chidi Odinkalu's.
Rufi Fire.
Good to see you, sir. How are you, sir? Good.
Chidi
Odinkalu said 3 years ago, this was part of the article Chidi Odinkalu wrote, said 3 years ago, Ekiti State enacted into law the criminal law of Ekiti State, number 12 of 2021, which repealed and replaced the state pre-existing criminal code law of 2012, comprising 9 parts, 429 sections, 140 pages, blah, blah, blah. Section 70 of that only contains the crime of causing disaffection or breach of public place through offensive publication, but it's a simple offense punishable by 6 months.
Yes.
And Odinkalu was saying that's not the issue, in this case. He further said in his article, I quote, he said, last week, on the 3rd of December, President of NPF said Dele Farotimi from his residence in Lagos, where the crime of criminal defamation is similarly unknown to law. They raced him through state lines to Ekiti, where they detained him. The following morning, on the 4th of December, the police arraigned Dele before a magistrate court in the state capital. It is important because the gist of the charge popularly provided against Dele Farotimi before the magistrate in Ekiti is precisely criminal defamation, which is not a crime in Ekiti State. How do you respond to Chidi Odinkalu here?
Well, you see, we are both, Chidi, my friend Chidi is a lawyer like I am. And, if all lawyers agree on an opinion, on an issue, if we all express the same opinion, there will be nothing for the courts to do. And there will be nothing for us to argue. Chidi has expressed his opinion. That is his opinion, which I don't necessarily share. But again, where are we today? Perhaps this is also a litmus test for all of us, and it's going to add to our jurisprudence. The issues have been tabled before the courts. For the advocates like me that may believe that the courts have jurisdiction, we will canvass the argument. The best thing for the lawyers of the defendant in this matter, Mr. Dele Farotimi, what should they do? There have been a lot of talk here and back and forth. First and first, bring a notice of preliminary objection and tell the court it has no jurisdiction. Tell the court that this offense is unknown to the laws in the Ekiti State, and let the prosecution also bring forward its argument. And the courts will determine one way or the other. I mean, for me, it is even going to be good for our jurisprudence for the courts to determine one way or the other. However, the leading authority on cross-jurisdiction, cross-border jurisdictional issue is the celebrated case of Injovens versus the state, where an offense, part of it was purportedly committed in Oyo State, and Patrice Injovens, I think, Injovens and Rede and the rest of them were tried in Kwara and convicted, and this was upheld by the Supreme Court. So on this subject, it's neither here nor there. A school of thought, like people like me, believe the Ekiti courts and the magistrate court in Ekiti has jurisdiction, while the Ochidi Odinkalus also believe it does not. So it's neither here nor there. But the jury is out there for all of us. Let the lawyers of the defendant, Mr. Adele Farotimi, I'm advising openly and publicly now, let them bring a preliminary objection or bring an application for the charges to be quashed on the premise that the court has no jurisdiction. I believe by now, if they would have filed such application, and let it be heard and determined one day or the other, one way or the other, so we don't go forward and backward. There will be no end to the opinions that will be expressed by lawyers on this subject. Okay. But like I said, there are two distinct things. There is the Federal High Court angle, which is under the Cybercrime Act. I believe, again, even at that, nothing says it's cast in iron. It's the Federal High Court that has granted bail now. I think that of the Magistrate Court, I understand, is coming up today. Let's see what this, and the application for bail is also there pending. We see how that also will pan out. Okay,
let me bring up two things. I had asked you earlier, I don't think you got to that point, about, yes, a subject I tried to report earlier on, Unikepo Braithwaite's piece yes, today in This Day, the lawyer section, when she said activism is not a license to defame. Because in all of these discussions of this subject,
absolutely,
I've had people say, under Section 39, an activist can say what he or she likes. Is that a defense in defamation? And then secondly...
I've read that too, and that is only laughable. It's just like telling me, because you are in the media, you are at liberty to defame anybody. You have a freedom of speech, but your freedom of speech is also subject to my own rights. And Dr. Abati, if I may digress, in our days in The Guardian, we dealt with a lot of these issues. You were on the editorial board, I was the legal advisor back then. We know these things. It's, if you recall, in those days, even by the time you write editorials, adverts, they are brought to me to screen to ensure that they are also not defamatory. And we put in place measures like even a kind of a guarantee or indemnity in case it's found libelous. So whoever is saying that's been an activist, who really is an activist, really? Who really is even the press does not enjoy that. Even the press, not to talk of somebody who wakes up and says, I'm an activist. So if I come on channels now and I elect to call Dr. Abati or my dear Rufi Fire, all manner of names, and then they say, what's your defense? I say, look, I am an activist. That is laughable when I hear that. And those who also say it is time to stifle free speech and all of that. You have freedom of speech. That is absolute. But that is correct. But I also have freedom, right to my dignity. You cannot just go and defame me and then say you want to walk away because you are the media or whatever. Even in the media, that's why you have legal departments to guard against some of these things. And there have been celebrated cases, Okunu and Shoyinka and the rest of them, where book publishers have even been found liable to have defamed others. And there are several authorities on that. So you go to the second one as well. I can.
Okay, yes.
Also
I was saying secondly, and this has to do with the administration. Some people have said, and I'm sure you must be aware of this, that Dele Farotimi is being targeted because he was anti-Tinubu during the 2023 general elections. And there has been an attempt to say that, it's actually the Tinubu group that is fighting Dele Farotimi, using Chief Afe Babalola as a proxy, attacker. So they say.
I think that is most ridiculous and insulting. Insulting Chief Afe Babalola, a revered icon, a legend, a prominent Nigerian educationist and lawyer who has put in 63 years of legal practice risen to the very highest peak of the profession as mentor judges, senior advocates, and the best of this profession. Of course, without talking about one of the best educationists with the establishment of his university and farmer. To imagine that, it's even for those who say that, I hope somebody will also caution them to be conscious of the fact that they too may be liable for defamation for saying such. I mean, let's take it back. February 95, being used by what to achieve what, by who to achieve what, and going political. Dele Farotimi was on the Peter Obi's campaign trail. He was a member of the campaign committee. Chief Abebe also publicly and openly supported Peter Obi in that election. So, like others, they will not say Chief Abebe is a turncoat Abi. He has also turncoat at 95. I think it's ridiculous for those who say such. It is highly ridiculous, and I think they also need to, those who say such need to examine themselves. I don't want to say we should, they need to be examined, that they could come up with such conspiracy theories. It's for lack of what to say, to imagine that this is political, that you put a man 63 years of hard work, of legal practice, a world-renowned lawyer who has shared the best of the profession as children, as mentees, and you go and write a book which the man says allegedly defames him. And if one might just go to the case that is the subject of this alleged defamation, this was a case where the best of the legal profession was involved. On one side was Chief Abebe Chambers, there was Chief Farotimi Williams Chambers, there was Chief Wole Pekun's Chambers. These are icons of the profession. These are the best of our profession. None of them, none, and I say none, who participated actively in the matter, made these allegations. Chief Abebe, from the records, did not even appear in the matter.
Okay.
And then you now say
okay,
the man has
Mr. Ogala.
corrupted, and in a sweeping statement, let me finish this. In a sweeping statement, you take out the totality of the Supreme Court, you mention people by names, you mention 2 past chief judges of the state, in sweeping statements. But that is not for me to judge, but based on what we have read. And then you now say it's a Tinubu's government that is using Abebe. That is the most ridiculous thing for anybody.
With due respect, Dele Farotimi, in his last press conference, deliberately said that it has got nothing to do with Tinubu, that he can't prove it's got anything to do with Tinubu. So that's his own side of the story. He deliberately said that.
I'm just reacting to what...
he deliberately said that. So I think let's clear the air that he deliberately said that in his last press conference. We yield the floor.
You are just playing that. I'm just reacting to what my brother Ruben just said.
Anyway, thank you very much, BK Ogala, SAN, for joining us on The Morning Show.